Hello and welcome to another episode of the SMEFocus show, brought to you by the FactoryNOW TV team. I'm your host, Chris Greenough, and this series we will focus on SMEs within the British manufacturing sector. Every week we will be meeting manufacturers to discuss and analyse the opportunities and challenges for industry in these unprecedented times. I have worked in the sector for over 26 years and I'm CCO at SDE Technology, one of the leading manufacturers of pressings and assemblies in the UK. So this show is very much for manufacturers by manufacturers. My guest today is Gill Jakes, Director at Bosworth Plastics Limited. Hi Gill, how are you?
I'm fine, yourself?
Fantastic, good to see you.
And you?
Doing lots of these virtual meetings now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Seems to be the new norm. So Gill, great to have you on the show. Tell us about Bosworth Plastics and what is it you do?
Well, Bosworth Plastics, we manufacture and develop a wide range of plastic components, mainly for construction industries. But saying that, we do packaging components, which are going into the NHS. We make camera lens caps. So anything in plastic, we like to be able to do. And we focus very heavily on R&D and the new innovative materials that are about at the moment, such as dissolvable products. So we don't just stop there. We look for the next step.
Absolutely. And you've got a lot of computer controlled machines. So how important do you see the investment in cutting edge technology for your business?
I think it's one of those that with the computer controlled, everything is a more controlled quality process.
Yeah.
But also investing in the robots, Hector and Hetty, which is something that I was sort of didn't want to take out jobs, you know, that they're important to me to keep people employed. But by Hector and Hetty joining us, they actually take out process which is very costly to the company. And it means that our staff then can spend their time doing something that's more profit rewarding, which in the long term rewards them in their pocket.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people look at automation as taking jobs away, but it shouldn't. It should make the company leaner, more efficient, and that should lead to more order book.
Yes, and also it's made us, the waste isn't there. So any waste product is actually fed from the robot into a granulator, and it's fed back into the system by valves, a very limited quantity. So our waste is not a lot.
And does that allow you to go into new sectors where quality is key?
The problem is we've looked at different sectors. And when we look at things like medical, it's not something that fits with what we currently do.
Yeah.
It would be very difficult to have a clean room alongside the other things that we do. We've never gone into automotive, but we're always looking for that kind of little niche market, which our products are in a very niche market, and the majority of our components get buried into concrete and never to be seen again. But it's always looking for that evolving of a product. You can always make it better, but we're also looking at things that, how do we recycle? How do we make single-use plastic not an evil thing, which I think it's been proved during this pandemic. Single-use plastic has been a saviour. And the problem is with that is the recycling point of view.
Now, you said you do a lot of work with customers on concept development. How do you see having that close relationship with your customers help secure order book for the future?
I think if they can see a supplier that works very hand in glove with them, and we're not going, oh, hang on a minute, we need X amount of money to help you, we need this, we need that. And you build up that strong relationship, and you can feasibly say what you can do and what you can manufacture, and when a product is not able to be manufactured. And I think if you can share some of those costs, i.e. looking at these new materials, which are fantastic, the reward of that relationship comes about, and you hope that then they don't take it from that development stage and put the high volume orders overseas.
Absolutely. So it's about building the relationships with the customers, building the trust, going from the development stage to the production orders.
Yes, and if there's a problem, any kind of quality issues, if you're in the UK, you can solve it pretty quickly. If you're overseas, it is months away.
Yes, and you potentially got containers of defect products that you need to reorder. So there's a lot of stock holding just in case there is a quality issue. Whereas buying from the UK, something we all push, is the way to go. That total cost should include quality.
Yes, definitely. But the problem you have is with reshoring, and we've had many, many inquiries. When you actually give them the cost, a lot of them are shocked and they don't see the value of the extra service and the turnaround that you give them and the lower stock holding. They just see the pennies.
They do. Now, you mentioned you mainly work in the construction industry. Obviously, since the end of March, COVID has been the biggest effect on most markets. How have you seen the sort of construction industry in that sector from March to this point?
Well, March to the end of June, forget it. July obviously picked up, but I think August through to October, it was booming. But the slowdown came in October. But one of the problems is with construction is at the moment there is a supply chain issue. So some supplies are short, and that has a knock-on effect to every supplier that's supplying the construction industry. So if they can't get a component, yours may not be needed because they can't get hold of something else. So there is a downturn, but this time of year, that's normal. It's dark, it's getting colder. And I think people are starting to look towards a Christmas shutdown, which I know that sounds pretty early, but I think there's a lot of companies that are looking, they have many staff with a lot of annual leave left and feel that perhaps a Christmas shutdown probably won't be too bad a thing.
And is that sort of pushed along by the uncertainty? So obviously COVID, the furlough scheme has been extended now, so that will help a lot of companies keep going, but not necessarily produce. Do you think we're going to see a slowdown naturally because of COVID?
I think COVID is the biggest threat at the moment to the economy and to our mental health, you know, in general. I think you've only got to look at your staff sometimes and just to try and cheer them up, you know, and make them feel that things will get better sometime. But yes, I mean, we need to invest in another new machine, and I'm holding back, Chris. I don't know what 2021 holds at this moment in time.
Which is, I guess, difficult for all of us given these COVID times, and then we've got Brexit. So from January the 1st, we don't quite know what we're gonna see yet. Do you see there's opportunities that will come out of this adversity for Bosworth? Not an easy question, I know, but
I'd like to say yes. I'd like to be very positive about what the future could hold. But I'll just say this, one of the biggest things for me in the debate was when people told us that by being out of the EU, we could trade with the rest of the world. We already trade with the rest of the world. We export to Ecuador, Argentina, Canada, America, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand. It didn't stop us, Chris.
No, absolutely.
And people knew what they were dealing with in terms of a company that was actually within the EU regulations and law. And yes, we can prepare for Brexit, but not very easily, Chris, I'm sorry. We have a customs agent, so we will be used to dealing with exporting and the paperwork. But it will be a headache, a nightmare, and there's a lot more to go with it than just trading. It's financial, it's a whole lot of issues that have not been settled. And just take tariffs. What are the tariffs on my raw polymers going to be from January the 1st?
Yeah, because if you don't know now, how can you plan with your costing models for the future?
You can't. I don't have any idea.
You mentioned some of the other places around the world you export to. Now, obviously, you export to America. We've got a new president in Biden. What do you think he will bring to the office and potentially a quick trade deal with the UK?
I don't think there's ever going to be a quick deal with any country. You know, every country's after to protect themselves. I think a lot of people put a lot of faith in President Trump because he was all about making America great again. From what we hear from the people we deal with in America, they feel a bit of hope of a bit of normality and stability. And they don't feel the last 4 years have really been presidential or really brought about any boost for manufacturing. But everybody has their own take on that matter.
They do. Now, just going back to, so from March onwards, did you keep producing all the way through at Bosworth? Did you furlough staff? How did it impact your business?
Well, in March, we took the decision that we had raw materials on the shelf. So we would keep the staff going and we would get every raw material turned into product.
Yep.
And because we were supplying things such as Tideway and Hinkley Point C, we had to keep them supplied, although a very limited quantity, because obviously COVID and having to self-distance, all that. So we kept the staff right up until April the 20th, which was the end of that payroll month. And then they were on furlough, and we made sure that they received 100% of their salaries. And then all the staff came back in July when we could part-time furlough, because we had to start making ready for sending containers out to Canada. Yeah.
So, I mean, 2020 has been an interesting year for many. Hopefully 2021 is looking better. You have got investment plans, they're on hold currently, but let's hope the markets come back and people start buying from the UK, buying UK made product.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I think we need to send that message out that it's not just about the actual pounds. It's about what you get, the added value you get with that pound you spend on a UK manufacturing company.
Gill, fantastic. Your enthusiasm and your company and the work you do on social media just to promote UK manufacturing is absolutely fantastic. Thank you for joining me today. Good to speak to you.
Thank you, Chris. And may I thank you for all the promotion you give to the UK manufacturing sector and your positivity. It does lift the spirits.
Brilliant. Speak to you soon, Gill. Thank you.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of another show. Fantastic to speak to Gill. Thank you for watching. If you would like to get in touch with the show with a comment, a suggestion, or to appear on a future episode, please email us tv@mtd.media. So for another show, that's me, Chris G at SDE. Goodbye.